You're watching the Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey. Today we're looking at the top 8 Cowboys players who are facing a make-or-break season. Now, this is not the players who are on the verge of getting cut. I think all of these guys should make the team, barring something kind of bad. But they also face uncertain long-term future, whether that is in Dallas or in some cases, even how they fit in the entire NFL. So first up on our make-or-break season list, defensive tackle Mazi Smith. That's right, we're already putting in a first-round pick after one season on this list. It did not go well last season. The honeymoon phase is already over for Mazi Smith. He has to make an impact this year. The Cowboys invested too much for him to suddenly drop weight and be a non-factor down the stretch this year. 13 tackles, a sack, 3 TFLs isn't very good over a 17-game sample size. Yes, he's not going to be a stat sheet stuffer, but I don't think the film, especially once he lost all that weight, was really all that better or significant. And Dallas up front needs him. There's Oso Uzua, I trust him, and not a lot of other trust. So when you have a first-round pick on the roster, they have to help you. They have to contribute, at least in year 2. He was always a developmental pick. You need the development now. Part of that means he adds some weight back, and we'll see him again in about a month. That's going to be more of a see how it goes once we get to camp thing. But if you want to make Mazi Smith fat again, spam MMFA for me in the comments section of today's show. MMFA if you want to make Mazi fat again. Next up on the make-or-break season lists, it's Terence Steele, the right tackle, the starting right tackle for the Cowboys. Some might be surprised on this inclusion, but he's going to start at right tackle. There's not really any competition right now for Terence Steele on that side of the football. He didn't play well last year, though. He allowed 8 sacks, 12 hits, 34 hurries. There were a lot of times he got beat bad, and the quarterback bailed him out of taking a sack. He went from a top-tier run blocker to he was kind of mediocre in the end. The reason why Steele's on this list is if he doesn't bounce back, he's going to get cut. The Cowboys did not adjust his contract. They're paying him $11 million on this year's salary cap. Next year, that figure becomes $17 million. Now, they could restructure that if he plays well, bring that number down and save money, which they should do if he plays well. But if they want to cut him, they save $8 million before June 1st and $14 million after June 1st. That's a pretty good chunk of change they can save if they choose to cut Terence Steele. So the pinned comment on today's show is this question: will Terence Steele bounce back in 2024? Y for yes, N for no at the pinned comment of today's show. Next up is Luke Schoonmaker, and it's not a good sign when your top 2 picks from last year's class are already on this list. That's a bad thing. I need Luke Schoonmaker to be much better than what we saw last year. I don't even need him, though, to be a starter. I just need Schoonmaker to be a good tight end 2. That is all I am asking out of Schooney this year. He doesn't have to replace Jake Ferguson. Doesn't have to be the next, 500-yard guy. I am to be a tight end 2, help in the running game, help in the red zone, catch damn passes thrown your way. Way too many drops last year for Schoonmaker. Didn't run that depth or that route at the right depth against Philadelphia. Got to do better there. You have to. 8 catches for 65 yards out of a second rounder. I don't care if you're a tight end or a receiver. That's not very good. And there's competition too. Now it's undrafted competition to an extent. Peyton Hendershot. Brevin Spanford can block. He's a good blocker. Maybe why you don't invest the second-round pick in a, blocking tight end, but we're past that point at this stage. I need Schoonmaker to stay healthy and make an impact. Next up is Trey Lance, the quarterback. This one makes sense, right? Trey Lance has to be on this list. How can he not be? He's fighting not just for a backup quarterback job, but to kind of set the course for the rest of his NFL career and the arc he's currently on. Trey Lance has not played much football. 54.9% of his passes were completed. That's a bad number. In 8 games, one of them was a monsoon. Not all of them were full-time games. It's kind of a small sample size. It's a weird sample size. They haven't played much. I would actually argue that Trey Lance is probably number 1 on this entire list. That nobody is facing a bigger make or break probably preseason more than regular season than Trey Lance. His career arc hangs in the balance. He already got traded once. The draft pedigree will only get you so far. If he's bad in the preseason, who wants him next year, right? If he's good in the preseason, well, now there starts to be some intrigue and some upside for Lance moving forward. We do have a new sponsor, if you haven't heard, here on the Cowboys Report. It is True Nutrition. And if you're buying protein powder or other supplements, you should be concerned about the ingredients. It's not a secret that the supplement industry is not heavily regulated, and many products on the market have fillers and even harmful chemicals in them. That's why I'm excited to have True Nutrition on board. It can be really hard to find the right protein powder to match your body and fitness goals. That's why with True Nutrition, you can create your own fully customizable protein powder mix with the exact ingredients you want based on your activity, taste, diet, and goals. It's truly sports nutrition designed by you with the highest quality products possible and no BS. This right here is the French vanilla version. I want the stuff to taste good. I don't want, creatine powder that tastes like crap. That's not good for me. It makes me want to not consume it. So I want my whey protein, in this case, to taste good. I've got strawberry sorbet version. I've got the cookie butter version, chocolate peanut butter cup as well. Taste matters to me, and True Nutrition delivers. For a limited time, you guys can get 15% off your entire order when you use code CHAT, C-H-A-T, at checkout. That's 15% off your entire order at TrueNutrition.com with promo code CHAT. Take the guesswork out of nutrition with True Nutrition. Links in the comments and the description of today's show. Rico Dowdle. We'll stick with some more running backs on today's list. Dowdle is in a very unique and good situation for himself. Specifically, Rico Dowdle has a chance to be an RB1 in Dallas, a chance he would not have been afforded anywhere else in the entire NFL. Only here, with this running back room that's not very good, was he going to get that opportunity. And Dowdle has to make the most of it, or I don't know what his future looks like moving forward. 89 carries last year, 361 yards on the ground, 17 catches. I thought he was pretty good in a small sample size. I want to see him get more of it. One big thing for Dowdle, by the way, too, he's got to stay healthy. He hasn't always been the healthiest player on this roster. He's missed time in pretty much every year he's been in the NFL. But I think he's a better player when healthy right now than Ezekiel Elliott. Maybe not in the red zone, but his numbers relative to Zeke, when you try to factor out the supporting cast stuff, they look better. I think he offers some more explosiveness. Now, would this team relegate Zeke to a backup role? I don't know. I think there's still some politics, for lack of a better word. It's not what it is, but that's what we'll call it, at play. So will Rico Dowdle be the RB1 in 2024? 1 for yes, he will. 2 for no, he will not. Go ahead and vote for me in the comments section of today's show. Will Rico Dowdle be the RB1 in 2024? Sam Williams is next up here. And this, again, really shouldn't surprise anybody in terms of Williams being on here. There is the possibility of the breakout season for Sam Williams. I don't think he's going to get cut because for a lot of these guys, the Cowboys don't have the bodies to not put them out there. But he needs a breakout season. If Sam Williams doesn't break out, he's going to be relegated to bench stuff. Mike Zimmer doesn't like guys that make boneheaded mistakes and penalties. He can get in the doghouse real quick with the type of play style and even off-the-field stuff he tends to get himself into as well. I need more from Sam Williams. I need that impact campaign. I need to see the big-time step forward, right? I hope it happens. It's a good thing for Dallas. If it doesn't happen, he's going to be fighting for a roster spot next year. In fact, it could easily be a off-season trade scenario, maybe even over to Dan Quinn in Washington. We'll have you guys covered all season long here and off-season and preseason with everything going on around America's team. So if you haven't already, hit that sub button, youtube.com/CowboysTV. Damone Clark, the linebacker, is next up. And again, of the in total 8 guys on this list, maybe is the one the least amount of confidence in making the roster, but I think he does make it. Can the instincts improve for Damone Clark? The athletic ability is there, but athletic ability only gets you so far if you're not reading and reacting properly. And that's a tough thing to develop. I do believe you can develop it, though. The more you play, the more you see, the more study you do. It's hard, but it is doable. Damone Clark had 109 tackles last year. Tackles aren't a great way solely to evaluate a player. I think being alongside Eric Kendricks, I think could benefit Damone Clark. I also think DeMarvion Overshown should be viewed as a better option right now than what Clark is. Maurice Leafau might emerge as a better option than Damone Clark. Tough to see him not being at least linebacker 4, but if he slides down to LB4 after being de facto linebacker 1 last year, I think that would easily be viewed as, kind of a disappointment. So name a Cowboys player, on my list or not, that you think faces a make or break season. Drop that player name or the names, if you want to be an overachiever and put a few in there, down in the comments. Jaylen Tolbert, the wide receiver, on here as well. This is, I would argue, now or never for Jaylen Tolbert to emerge. Either he steps up, he wins that wide receiver 3 job, at minimum, ideally shows he can be, maybe he's our 2 next year, whatever. Or we go, does he even make the roster? Is he just going to be a backup? Is it just never going to happen for him? Tolbert was fine in 2023. At least took a step forward relative to what we saw in the 2022 campaign. He was better. Way better, actually. Now another step is needed to be more than just a disappointing 3rd-round pick. He still has to beat out Jalen Brooks. I think that's the main competition. I don't think Dallas views Turpin in the same way as like a pure 3rd option. I think they even have a tough time thinking they could put Cooks and Turpin on the field because they're so small, which I think also plays into some Deuce Vaughn stuff. But Deuce is fighting for a roster. He's not on this list. So I'm hopeful Tolbert shows some growth, but got to see it before otherwise he is facing that make or break campaign.